The traditional closing day for Seminole Golf Club in Jupiter, Florida is Mother's Day, but this year it's going to be staying just open just a little bit longer. And for the TaylorMade Driving Relief exhibition, it's a made-for-television exhibition featuring a pair of former #1 golfers, Dustin Johnson and Rory McIlroy, versus a team consisting of Ricky Fowler and Matthew Wolff. So we're happy to have our guest here tonight, Bob Ford, who is the director of golf at Seminole. And Bob, this is quite a big event coming to Seminole this week.
Well, Fred, I can't tell you how excited we are. Sunday at 2 o'clock, it's going to be like Christmas morning for us, everybody that associated with Seminole, to be able to, assist in the COVID-19 relief and make some money for the charities and get everybody to see Seminole really for the first time, which is really extraordinary when you think about it. So we're really excited.
Well, that's, Seminole has such a storied history. It only holds a couple of tournaments a year, and those are involved members. You've got the Coleman Invitational that brings a lot of top amateurs in, and you've got the pro member that gets a lot of the top named pros in every year, like held kind of around the Honda Classic. But other than that, not a lot of people have seen Seminole over the years.
No, we really haven't, Fred. Cypress used to host the Crosby, so we always got a good picture of Cypress. Masters at Augusta, we've always seen, obviously, and Pine Valley had a Shell's Wonderful World of Golf back then, and they had the Walker Cup. So, we've gotten to see that, but nobody's ever seen Seminole, which is really, really neat. Really, we're really excited to share Seminole with the world.
So you're going to have the Walker Cup next year, and this event this year. Both will be on television. Does this kind of signal kind of a new era in Seminole with the members wanting to kind of let the world see the course, or what you're thinking there?
Fred, yeah, I don't think it was ever, like we didn't want anybody to see it. We just never had the opportunity, really. So, the Walker Cup was going to be the first opportunity that we had to show the golf course to the world. And, now this came upon us just a couple of weeks ago. And as you know, Pete Bavak was a member here who's the president of NBC Sports. So he contacted Jimmy Dunn, our president, and they whipped it together, in a couple of week time. But I don't think after the Walker Cup, there's really going to be much for us to do. Maybe something will pop up, but it's not a strategy for us, put it that way.
If something happens along, fine, but you're not really looking for anything.
Correct.
Most golfers know that Ben Hogan was a friend of George Coleman, would spend a couple of weeks every March ahead of the Masters practicing on Seminole greens to get himself ready for Augusta National. Was there a hole in particular that Mr. Hogan liked to kind of set up and practice short irons and things into those greens?
Well, the lure is that his favorite hole on the golf course was number 6. And the green is kind of angled at a 45-degree angle to the shot. It's a really hard iron shot. The wind's usually blowing left to right, and he just loved to work the ball against the wind. But he'd go anywhere on the golf course to practice. But that's the hole that he loved to play. And interesting, Fred, you might not know the lure of this, but there was a guy named Bobby Sweeney who lost in the finals of the Amateur to Arnold in 1954 at the Country Club of Detroit. And the lure here is that the first 2 weeks of March, when Ben came down, Sweeney gave him a shot aside for the first 2 weeks. And the last 2 weeks, they played flat. That's how good Sweeney was. And you can imagine, Hogan was a little bit rusty, and Sweeney had been playing all winter. So you can kind of do that. But we had some caddies here when I first started that sadly are no longer with us that told us about those matches. And pretty interesting story.
Of course, Donald Ross did the original layout, which opened in 1929. Dick Wilson came in, did some renovation work after World War II. And then Corin Crenshaw was in there in 2016, primarily spent some time on the greens. And the greens are really the feature of the golf course, don't you think?
They really are. You just can't, until that ball comes to rest, you can't take your eyes off of it. I mean, it just wants to keep rolling away from the pin. Sadly, it goes into bunkers, rolls off greens, has that little Pinehurst effect where the ball just stays in motion. So, the guys are really good iron players. They don't have too hard of a time here, but if you're not in control of your irons, you're in trouble.
Other than the greens, Bob, for the viewers that are going to be watching on Sunday, what are some of the things they might want to look for on the golf course, or particular shots or something that you find of interest there?
Well, our short par fours are pretty interesting, and it's all about the wind, Fred, as you know. So it is howling out there today, and it's supposed to blow all week. Now, probably come Sunday, it'll probably die down, which will kill us. But the par threes out here are it's a wonderful set of par threes. They have wonderful iron shots. The par fives are not par fives for them, so they'll play like long par fours. But the short holes, like 6 and 12 particularly, are two of our really great short holes. I would pay keen attention to the shots into those two par fours.
And although the course sits right on the ocean, across the hedge there on 16 green, 17, 18 is the beach, basically. It really doesn't come into play. The ocean does it?
Well, not for these players. Some of our players hit it down there in the ocean, but no, it really doesn't. But it's just a wonderful sight, and it's an incredible piece of property, and they get a few nice looks at the ocean. And boy, lately the ocean's just been turquoise blue. It's been beautiful.
In all your years there at Seminole, you told us the story about Sweeney and Hogan. Is there any other stories that just kind of stick out in your mind? One quick story that you can share with our listeners?
Well, Fred, the Hogan stories are pretty legendary. There's been a lot of checks surfaced lately on eBay that are, Ben Hogan written out to a member, and for $250 to $25. So the lure again was that if he lost a bet to one of our guys, he always wrote him a check because he figured they wouldn't cash it. They just wanted a signature. But the fun story that we do like to tell is that E.F. Hutton, as you know, started the golf course, married to the famous Meriwether Post of the Post fortune. Together they built Mar-a-Lago, where Donald Trump now lives. But, she told him when he built the golf course, you need to be home by 7 o'clock every night for the dinners and the balls. So we close at 6. And I mean, you must be off the property at 6 o'clock here, even till today, to continue that tradition. So pretty cute.
Yeah, that's pretty cool stuff. We've been talking about the TaylorMade Driving for Relief exhibition. It's going to be happening this weekend with Dustin Johnson, Ricky Fowler, Rory McIlroy, Matt Wolf. Other corporations has joined in with TaylorMade, and I mean, it's raising several $1 million, right?
Well, I think so. Yeah, Rory's sponsor, United Health, is a big sponsor with $3 million, and Ricky has Farmers Insurance for $1 million. And there's going to be a GoFundMe page, and there's going to be lots of ways to contribute. I hope we get it up to 10 or 12 million.
Been talking with Bob Ford, longtime director of golf at Seminole. Of course, he's retired from Oakmont. And Bob, thanks so much for taking a few minutes and talk to you. And we're going to really be excited to see Seminole this weekend.
Well, we are too, Fred. You're kind to bring me on, and best to you and all your viewers.
Thanks, Bob.